Good afternoon from Cremona Mondomusica. We're here with Wolfgang Stegmüller, violin maker. If you can introduce yourself to our viewers online at the moment, and tell us about your line of work, and if you can show us also maybe some instruments.
So thanks for coming and having questions. And the main question to us as violin makers is, what are you doing? Your instruments look different. And for example,
they do actually, yes.
They do, yeah. Here you can see it. They're not properly the classical forma, but conical.
Conical.
And conical is by language quite close to comic.
Conic, yes.
Yeah, yes. And so we have a lot of fans and a lot of not fans,
not so much
enemies,
fans, yeah.
Not so much fans. But we are convinced because we want to make instruments who just have more energy in the sound.
Yes.
And therefore we developed our own construction. And the result of this construction we can see here. If you imagine classical violin, cello, yes, doesn't matter, or double bass, you notice that the top and the back side are equal in the size.
Yes.
You know? So the ribs stand in the right angle around the instrument, and in the so-called outback, in the outside of the instrument, about here, the sound waves at the classical construction go up and down, you know, but are not reflected to the sound, to the top, yes. To send the sound out. So our idea was to vary the classical forma to this, with an angle could be so and so, more or less. But the main thing is that the sound waves of these areas also go back to the top.
Yes. And where did you get the idea to do this?
The idea I've got by loudspeakers, you know, like this. And this is especially describes the physics, what really happens with the sound.
Yes, opening up,
yeah. And to be concentrated,
yes.
And to have a powerful projection. And that's exactly what happened.
And your dog is shaped to cellos as well as double basses and violins as well?
The whole family. And I got the patent on that,
yes,
on this construction, which is called Streichinstrument. It's a German patent,
yes, and
means both instruments in general. But because this is the first patent on the body of both instruments at all. So it's the highest step of the hierarchy of patents, Germans. So,
but constructing these instruments, is it a problem in making the shape of the ribs?
Yeah, it's in that way more difficult because we have radiuses. Usually at the classical model, the ribs are square, you know, and it's easy to handle.
Yes.
Here we need two radiuses,
yes,
one for the top and one for the back.
Yes.
So this is more difficult to handle.
Does the wood have some kind of heat treatment before to place it? Or?
Yeah, but it's the same production like classical violins. You make them wet and bend them hot.
Yes.
So it is a little bit more difficult to have them really parallel in this third dimension. You know, if you look to the instrument square from this position where he stands, yeah, it has a perspective.
Yes.
You know. And the design, but the design is a result of the construction, and the construction mentioned powerful sound. So we have an extra design, and astonished had been many violin makers, famous people, named people.
Is there any?
Who said,
are there any musicians that endorse your?
Yeah, some. And but the violin makers, we first appeared here in Cremona 2010,
yes,
and showed these instruments, and they were discussed from the morning to the night. And one of the well-named, famous Italian violin makers, his comment was, "Look, they show what they do. They have no secret." This was the real sensation. We have no secret, because you can see it.
You can see it all.
That's the construction, and you can see it. And this design is a result, you know.
I overheard someone saying it sort of looks like a bathtub, the shape.
Yeah.
But if it sounds, how many people play in the bathtub, the violin in the bathroom because it sounds good? No.
Yeah. No.
Everybody's Paganini.
No. We have several concert masters playing violins from us, and cellist soloists like Adrian Brendel, for example, Daniel Müller-Schott. Often plays those instruments, and it's a long way. We knew, I know, because it's not called Stradivari. You know, we can't name it Stradivari, not even a copy of Stradivari, because you can see it's different. But on the other hand, it's a shape which is singular in the world, you know.
Yes.
It's like a brand. It's unique. It's like a brand. So we go our way.
Where do you get the wood that you use for your instruments?
At all wood dealers, tone wood dealers in the world.
Yes.
In Mittenwald, in Eastern Germany, whatsoever. In Italy, here.
Is it always aged? Properly.
Yeah, it's technology, not 50 years old. It doesn't have to, because the wood technology, it has to be. The trees have to be on a certain height, more than 800 meters, grown up, and they have to be cut end of the year, so between December and January, and so on. So that's the normal procedure. And then, it's a rule, when they are cut, you store them not in a building, but under the sky, a roof on top. Outdoors, but the climate must work with the wood, or different. The wood must work with the climate, and per centimeter thickness of wood a year. So for cello, it's technology. After 3 years for a cello, top or back, you can work with the wood after 3 years, principally. But what we do, and other violin makers too, we put the wood into our atmosphere and store it there for more 5 years. You know, so we are sure that then they have a humidity of between 8 and 12%, and this is the proper condition to make instruments.
Can you show us a violin as well?
Yeah. Look, we have two.
The difference is less obvious.
Yeah, of course, because the distance is smaller.
That's a trick of the eye.
Yeah. And what I like to say, I am the inventor, and my son is educated at the International Violin Maker School in Cremona, and together we have our workshop now,
Yes.
atelier since 6 years about.
6 years.
So this is, for example, a violin he made. This cello was made by me.
Eravamo qui da Wolfgang Stegmüller, liutaio tedesco, che ha brevettato questa nuova forma dello strumento, dei violoncelli, viole, violini e anche contrabbassi, questa forma conica che avete visto fino adesso, che lui ha brevettato, sfruttando questa idea che il suono si propaga meglio come in un altoparlante, o anche ha mimato il gesto, questo qua, se uno pensa anche al megafono, è costruito in maniera conica, quindi ha pensato che questo poteva sfruttare meglio le onde sonore dello strumento, e sembra che i risultati ci siano. Un ottimo lavoro sembra.